This is the Wholeness Network, a space for people who are done performing wellness and ready to actually feel it. I'm Michelle Wingle, and every episode we're going deep into healing, identity, the spiritual stuff nobody talks about, and what it really means to come home to yourself. So let's go. Oh my, it has been a little bit since I recorded this podcast with Alaya, and I was going through editing it, and I just am so in love with her. I am so in love with her. For those of you that don't know Alaya, she created heart-centered therapy, which is one of the trainings I've taken and probably use bits of the very most in my work. And it's exactly what it says. It's working with the heart that I call the portal. What's a portal? And doing some really deep healing work. And she is an inspiration. She sits in meditation regularly, daily, hours at a time. And in this conversation, we wanted to get together. I asked her if she'd be willing to share this story on the podcast because this was so significant. You've got to go into the Wholeness Library, and she has multiple videos, but particularly her talk that she gave at our live event. She talks about healing a cancer, and she really is this miraculous person, but so down to earth. I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation. And even though she'd done that kind of healing work and been this healer for so long, here she was confronted with a big medical issue, something that she couldn't just do what she'd always done to fix it. And you'll see her talk about that and the emotions that brought up. And I think it's really, really important to talk about that, because when we are having difficult times, I think there's a fine line between surrender and fight for our health, And I think she models a real balance of those two. And part of her story is that I love in this particular story is that she knew herself. She knew what she could do. She knew what her body could handle, and she owned that. She was an advocate for herself. And when she stood up and asked for her needs to be met with a full open heart, people answer that call. It's just the power of the heart and authenticity. She came from that knowing of what she needed, and she was able to be willing to go through the hard work and trust. And the thing that I loved about her story too is that she named the miracles. As much as she was a part of creating it, she was awed and inspired by the miracles. And she talks about one of the, I don't want to spoil the story at the beginning, but she had a hip replacement. That's a major surgery. And she talks about how powerful it is when she was vulnerable to the physicians and they were willing to be vulnerable with her. And again, that authenticity, that deep human connection that we have. And I hope you'll stay to the end, because she tells the story of being able to bury her own bone, and the way that she describes the healing and the connection with herself, with her different aspects of her body, the water, the cells. It's a real inspiration for us to really explore deep portions of ourselves, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And there's a little bit of that throughout this story. if you wait until the end as well, you will get to see where she lives. She's living currently in a beautiful paradise of Ecuador, and she shares a little bit, and then you get to see a sneak peek of her meeting my grandson. I think it was before 2020 that I've met her in person and been able to give her a hug. And so it was good to catch up with her and to be able to share her story and to learn at her feet. She's such a special soul, and I'm just so grateful that she's been a mentor and a teacher of mine, and gives me so much hope that there's people like her living and walking on the planet and willing to teach and willing to upgrade all of us. She holds the frequency of pure love, and it helps me take a deep breath. It helps me take a deep breath. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this conversation. As always, please rate and review. And also, I want to remind you that there is a phone number that is in the show notes, and I'd love to hear from you about things that you're going through, questions you have, ideas you have. I want to know what your definition of wholeness is. I want to know what topics you'd like to discuss on this podcast. I'd love to hear more. So leave us a message or email info@thewholenessnetwork.com, and let's build this community together. You're important, and I want to hear from you. So, and I hope you enjoy again this conversation, and I hope to see you back next week.
I started to feel a pain in my groin, and I thought it was a torn ligament or something like that. But it didn't heal, and it went into the second year, and I stopped dancing, I stopped riding my bike, I stopped doing yoga, and my life was coming to a halt. Into the third year, it was becoming so painful that there was not a step I could take without pain.
Mm.
And I was so against any kind of medical care. I didn't even want an X-ray on my body.
Mm-hmm.
Not an MRI.
Yeah.
But at the point where I realized I have to do a little bit of surrendering here.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an X-ray, and it was really disheartening because it wasn't about a ligament. It was about a necrosis of the hip joint. So when I looked at that, Michelle,
Yeah.
it looked like I had come to a dead end because, and a sadness that I hadn't been able to heal it emotionally at that time.
Right.
And this is my life work. And
Right.
it just so broke my heart, like I failed. But yet it took me into a place of surrender. Well, I have to surrender to something that I had always fought against.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted no intervention, and here I was. I didn't have the courage or the faith to know that I could heal a dead bone. Right. So that's where the journey begins.
Well, I'm so glad you could be so honest about that, because I think in our line of work, I feel like that does show up. Like, I should be able to do this by myself, or that would come so quickly. And I think it doesn't show up until it does. And then it's devastating, a little bit devastating,
Devastating.
Yeah. So you're dealing with this pain, physical pain, and this emotional and mental confusion a little bit, that's got to be, that was compounded. Yeah.
Yes. And I know, like in cancer, we can heal cancer if we get to the core trauma. But if we do everything but, you can do work for 1,000 years and it's not going to change the cancer.
Right.
So I knew I hadn't found that thread. It was something so deep. And perhaps later we'll connect with that, but it was on a cellular level.
Yeah.
And it's from a trauma in utero. My mother's. So.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I still didn't have it.
Right. So you, like all of us, we confront that one thing The
Yes.
one thing we don't want to confront, somehow we have to face that at some way. And so you did move forward with surgery, which was a hip replacement was what they wanted to do.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hip
Yeah.
replacement.
Which is
So-
very common these days as far
Oh.
as,
Yes, and I hope to get this message out.
yeah.
So my husband went, he was completely supportive. And I tell you, he's an osteopath. He doesn't like hospitals and surgeries. He's very much in alignment with me. But he said, Alaya, this is where we're going. So he got online. He asked everybody he possibly could ask, did all the research he could possibly do. And he said, I have one solution. And his name is Hector Moreno. He's an MD in Ecuador.
Okay.
And he said, listen, this guy has done 1,500 hip replacement surgeries. And in the last 2 years, he's doing the newest, most effective surgery, which is in the anterior.
Okay.
So I said, well, it all sounds great in numbers.
Right.
But I want to know this guy has heart.
Right. I love that about you. I love it.
So he showed me an email from Hector, and I go, oh, I sense something good in this man. And he said, I'm setting up a Zoom appointment for all of us to talk, the three of us. So we got on Zoom, and I met him. And I liked him. And I said, would it be okay if I call you Hector? And he said, yes, of course. And I said, I need to know that you are my friend. And it doesn't mean that I don't respect your doctorate, that all the years that you studied and all the investments you've made in making this an art, perfecting this. And he said, absolutely. He said, you can call me Hector. And I just felt so touched by him. And I kind of melted, and I told him, I said, I need to know something else too. I need you to know that my body is conscious, and it feels, and it will be so aware of you, and how you hold my body and how you see me is so important. And I explained to him that I've done a lot of surgical scar tissue, surgical scars. I worked on that. And what I've noticed when working on a scar, particularly surgical, is that I could always feel where the knife entered the tissue. Because where it entered, the tissue was contracted and tight, and you could feel the fear in it. And when I would touch that part and really acknowledge it and bring my heart to that place of entry, it started to relax. And when I could see that all the fascia was relaxing, the scar tissue was opening. And I could also feel the attitude of the doctor was still in the tissue. So if there's disregard, or if it sees it as a mechanical nothing, well, he takes that as a deep wound. And he said, absolutely. He said, I totally understand what you're saying.
Right.
So that was a beginning of a trust in him and a confidence.
For sure.
So after meeting us, he even told Bruno that he would come to Loja. He's in the north of Ecuador, and he came to our place, our closest village or town to us. And, well, that was just a miracle. He said there was all kinds of reasons that this was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to take a plane. I didn't have to do whatever.
Wow.
So that was a gift too.
Yeah.
So 2 days before the surgery, I had my heart test and all the different tests. They want to make sure that I'm in good shape. And they were kind of amazed at, my heart was exemplary. And my
Of
body,
course.
my immune system was super strong,
Wow.
so everything was a go on the end. And I met Xavier that day, Javier, and he was going to be there with me and the surgery.
Right.
He was, he had done the hard kind of hip replacements, the lateral, but they wanted him to learn the anterior.
Gotcha.
So he was going to be a student. But I said the same thing to him. I said, please, Javier, please know how important it is that you really see me and that you that you care for me in the deepest way.
Yeah.
And he was just a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And he said the most important thing is that you are family.
Oh.
And he gave me a big hug.
Yeah.
So there's 2 docs
Yeah.
that I've met, and they embraced me.
Yeah.
So the morning comes when I'm having the surgery, and we went to the hospital, and Bruno of course was with me, and I met the third surgeon who was going to be the assistant, and his name is Lionel. And Lionel was as bright and as loving and as caring as the other 2. So I was standing, at that point, I was laying on the bed in the field of these 3 men that were like angels. And I had a husband there that was totally congruent in their energy. Michelle, I was held in a field of love. It was just incredible.
Well, and what I love is you asked for it too.
I did.
You asked for it, which I think is something we could learn from too, because sometimes in those areas we give ourselves up to the professional, and we don't ask for what we need. And I loved that you asked. I mean, you didn't, you in a loving way asked for support. And then of course they're going to respond because love begets love. And I think it was valuable for you to ask for it. I think that's so special. You created that.
Yes.
You were part of that creation, and that's really valuable for us to think for ourselves that way too. Just that alone is powerful. Powerful.
Thank you. And thank you for mentioning that, because I've thought about that, and what I did is I also gave them permission to come out of that persona of being the authority.
Yep.
Because people expect that.
Yeah.
And that creates the distance.
Yeah. True.
So he had permission to be himself, to be a friend, to be vulnerable to me. And that's what really gave me the trust in these men, that we were all vulnerable to each other. So that we could unify in another level. It was quite amazing. So in that moment, I felt total trust and held, and it was time to roll me to the operating room. And it was like, I've only seen that in movies, them rolling in, the bed to the surgery room. I was going, oh my gosh, I never thought. I'm watching the ceiling. So
right.
I roll in, I go, oh my gosh, it's really happening. And I was there, and they asked me to sit up, and there was a woman I had met, her name is Karen, and she was amazing too, very kind, and Bruno had drilled her And she knew what she was doing. She wasn't a beginner.
Oh.
So, as she approached me, Hector saw that I was going into fear. He instantly came over to me. He took my hand and he said, "You can squeeze my hand, Alaya. I'm right here." So he brought me right back into trust. I have a feeling that this was so important because my body came back into trust, and that was carried into the surgery. My body had moved into the surgery in fear. It wouldn't have received the correction in the same time. Is that amazing?
It's amazing, and also because it answers a question, because I think a lot of times, so that's a perfect scenario, because as you're wheeling down the hallway and this is not something you wanted to do, and it's scary for you, or and whatever scenario that is for anyone listening or watching, I don't know if we have the capacity in that moment to do it ourselves, to pull ourselves out of that, and yet we think, we kind of think we should or whatever, but I don't know if you could have done that by yourself, and that's that humanity and that kindness. I mean, we sometimes we need another person to help us do that, and it's so important. It's not something we can just drum up on our own all the time.
No.
Maybe a lot of time. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I knew I couldn't.
Right.
I needed a team.
Yeah.
I needed,
right.
And
to ask for that team. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we need people to show up for us, but we also need to ask, I think, for that. I think that's special that we can create that for ourselves.
Yes, we can.
And so it's like, instead of maybe trying, instead of in that moment, because I mean, if I put myself in that moment with you, to be able to create the feeling of trust within myself in that moment, I don't know if I could have, but to create the scenario where someone can show up for me, is special, really special, and I think needed.
Yes.
It's okay that you can't do it all by yourself.
Yeah, so that was a huge lesson for me too, and is allowing myself to enter a field of medicine that I had never even trusted in.
Right.
Through prayer and opening to that was super important. I remember too, when we had the Zoom meeting with Hector, he took a screenshot, and I would go back to that picture and I would meditate and I would hold my groin, and through my heart and the vision, I would say, "This is Hector. He's the one that's going to be touching you. Know his energy through me." And that would just I could feel my body receiving that, Michelle. It was really amazing, taking the time, and knowing how conscious our bodies are, listening to everything we say and feel. Everything.
Yeah.
I was really prepared on a very deep level.
Yeah. And that preparation paid off because it went well. So tell us more about how it went so well.
It went so well. Oh my gosh, I was in the twilight the whole time, but it was such a strange feeling. I felt like I was somehow I was in heaven.
Yeah.
It was such an open and loving space. And they brought me back to my room, and through the night I was half awake. And I felt so inspired. I don't know what was inspiring me, to even do my life in a deeper way, a more positive way. It's unexplainable what I felt. And so finally in the morning, Bruno came first. He came about 9:00, and the doctors came in about 10. 10:30, and they were there. And they were just incredible. They were all excited. It's like it was our success.
Right.
We were selling our success, and Bruno had brought chocolate, and we were eating chocolate, and it was delightful.
Mm.
It was just incredible. So there was 5 of us, and I sent you a picture of the dogs.
Yeah. I can't wait to share. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was quite amazing that we just had a little celebration together. It was time for them to go, and I came home. And he told me they said for 2 weeks you use a walker, and for a week then you use a crutch. And after 3 days, I was kind of dragging that crutch around. I go, I'm going to trip on the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know it.
Wow.
So I stopped that. I had no pain.
Yeah, that's amazing.
No pain. I never took a pain pill.
Yeah.
And I had told them that I didn't want to take antibiotics. So I didn't take any of the antibiotics that they wanted me to take because I trusted in my immune system. I love my bacteria. I know my virus. I know bacteria. So I trusted. I go, no way do I need this. And even though they give me antibiotics in the surgery, I was talking to my, to my biome, to my my system, and I go, we are getting through this, and we are going to recover from that. Because I told Hector, I go, why would you want to give my system antibiotics and kill any of my biome, my bacteria or virus? I need it.
Right.
So that's the one place that I just need to hold space.
Right.
But as far as anything else, it was all good.
Wow.
And there was this nurse came in, and she had something that she was going to put in the IV. And I said, what is that? And she said, it's antibiotics. And I go, no, you can't give that to me. It's already been agreed. So she said, she looked at me and she said, doctor. She's Spanish. I go, so I'm waiting for the doctor to come, who was Burgess, but who was on the night crew or whatever.
Yeah.
So he comes into the room, and I looked at him, and he did speak English, and I said, am I in trouble? I go, I don't want to take the antibiotics.
Right.
And I think his name was Stephen, and he said, here we respect your opinion and your needs. If you don't want to take it, you don't have to. He said, even me, there are things that have been recommended for me to take, and I have not taken it because it went against my own knowing.
Wow.
He said, I'm standing with you. If you don't want it, you don't have to take it.
Wow.
What a miracle.
Yeah, that is. That seems so,
Yes.
Yeah. And having no pain is a miracle. My daughter-in-law is a surgical tech and does that surgery, quite a bit. And it's an invasive surgery. That's
the difference. They used to do the posterior where they cut the muscles and tendons.
Yeah.
That's why it's so painful. They came in a different way, and they went through there. But there's still an incision, and they still did
right.
my bone.
Yeah, they have to take your bone out and replace it.
It did not hurt.
Yeah, and there's some, in fact, I was talking to her the other day, and she said, some of those ortho tools look like you went to Home Depot and picked them up. They just look like they're invasive tools, it's a lot. So
it does.
So yeah, it's saws and drills. And so the fact that you didn't have pain.
No pain.
Helps brings up 2 questions for me. Number 1, what is pain then? Do you know what I mean? What is the nature of pain? And 2, how did your body or your cells decide it didn't need to do that, or something like that? That's fascinating.
It is fascinating, and I don't know if love and trust is the answer. But somehow there was such a deep surrender inside of me that I have no answer for that, really. Well,
Yeah. Well, it wasn't, and I think what you're saying too is it wasn't just you. You were in collaboration and agreement with every cell in your body.
yes.
Even though every cell might have not been excited,
Yes,
every
right.
every cell might not have been, but it was like like holding a child. I'm with you. We're going to be
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did work with that cellular level.
Yeah.
And I feel that's so important. And this was probably one of the deepest lessons that I learned, is that healing is not only emotional, not only mental, but it's down to the cellular level, because cells are intelligent, they're feeling, they hold memory, they think, they know.
Yeah. So do you reach and ask for information and lean on your cells, or are you more of the leader and supportive of them, or is it both?
It's both. It's
Both.
another mutual relationship.
Right.
Honor them and their intelligence and their ability to feel and to love and to know when they're loved and know when they're rejected, right? To honor them on that level. Really, the first time that I really felt into my cellular body, my cells felt my heart, and for that was the first connection I ever made to my cells. And I just teared, Michelle. They were the tears of my cells thanking me for finally holding them. And in that was the beginning of my cellular shift. And really connecting to their breath. And to know that when I'm traumatized or when I'm upset, the breath tightens and becomes more shallow. When I'm open, my heart is beaming.
Yeah.
The membrane of every cell opens as well and breathes.
And so what do you do when you're in a place where it is, you're closed a little bit, or you're tense or worried? How do you transition to open?
Wow, my goodness, that's when I'm usually sitting in meditation.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because it really does take some kind of focused intention to be able to really acknowledge where I'm at.
Right.
Right? If I'm feeling upset or if I'm feeling distracted or sad or in grief, feel that, and then to allow myself, how are you moving that myself? And that they are embodying that and experiencing that, which I never noticed before, at the same time. I can actually work with them because we're in communication. And then I can start to feel the breath. And then I can start, which is usually shallow, restrict. And then I can start to open. And what I've noticed is that if I pay attention to my skin, which is something I had never done, and open the pores, I can see that's totally relaxing. And it's like, it's the main membrane of our bodies. And it's like the mother membrane.
Yeah.
So skin, how we hold our skin, is kind of like how every cell, the membrane of every cell, follows. It's a relationship. I follow you.
Wow.
So it's I've just been learning so much. Michelle.
Right.
What?
Wow. Well, I've last year I finished up a training for internal family systems. I don't know if you've ever heard about it. It's a
Yes.
therapy, and so it's parts work, so when I listen to what you share, it takes that framework and makes it physical, which I think is beautiful. It's like, because that's how I feel with my, with what I've called my parts, is like, I feel like I'm always in conversation with them and we're always supporting each other. I have a little reminder in my phone to check in every day and see how we're doing. And sometimes it's like, this is a rough one, isn't it? Let's acknowledge this one's, we're having a little difficult moment right now, aren't we? And again, by naming it and then being in partnership with myself, which I'm going to shift that. And I mean, because as soon as you start sharing about that, it becomes a million part, all those cells, millions and billions of cells. And that's a lot of support to
It's
have.
a lot of fun.
Yeah. And to think that we're, to think of it as this partnership. We're one whole, but we're always in partnership with each other, I think that's just beautiful. And the thought process it's hard to even completely comprehend, but I know that if you go in and feel that experience, it's possible. The felt experience of it is almost indescribable, I'm sure.
Is beautiful. And to feel that they really have tears that need to be cried.
Mm-hmm.
And they have places where they need to be seen so deeply, and how much it means to them. And you can feel it. You can feel your cells knowing that they are loved and loved.
Yeah. Well, and tears express with every emotion. You know what I mean? We have anger tears, we have happy tears, we have joyful tears, we have sorrow tears. And so that's one of the most whole expressions of emotion are tears.
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 And I love my tears. I'm so grateful that I can cry.
Yeah.
Just to allow that flow to open.
Yeah.
To
Yep.
open.
Yep. Well, definitely. That's a good way to put it. A good way to think about it, because I think we always apologize for tears. I think that's common, to apologize for tears, when I think it's much more than that. I think that's really the opposite feeling we should have.
Our tears are sacred.
Yeah, they are. They are.
Yeah.
And I've heard that even different emotions, the molecular structure of the tears are even different. I mean, they're intelligent themselves.
Yes.
Intelligent. I think you used that word with our cells. This intelligent.
Really
intelligence. Yeah.
Or extremely intelligent.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh. When I first started to look at the cell and looking at the mitochondria, which holds the memory of our mother lineage, and the centrioles, which is of the father, which holds the memory of our father lineage, are alive inside of us. And wow, when we really heal with our mothers and our fathers, we hold that, and it heals the structure of ourselves, the mitochondria and the centrioles.
Yeah. Yeah.
It shows that in a relationship, and I started to see that every nuclei in our cell is a whole body.
Mm. Yes, a universe.
It is, yes, it is that universe. And when it's whole, and when it's interactive, and when it's healed, when it's in its true template, Michelle, it feels like then we can open to the universal information and let go of the movie and the ongoing dialogue that we have in our minds.
The programming, yes.
Then the programming starts to leave, and you start really feeling empowered. and not being afraid of the silence, because in the silence is where we get such deep information.
Right. Right.
And it takes time to integrate through into words. But when it integrates, it comes in a different level.
Right.
It's
Interesting.
different information. And therefore, we start letting go of what we've always believed of our life is and who we are, what we're able to do and what we're not able to do. Because we're starting to shift into that new level of communication.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So with you talked about that you discovered the core wound, you could say, to this ailment, but it was too soon. It was too soon before your surgery.
Yeah, I had a week. That was a week before.
So do you think that was, okay, so do you think that is, I don't know how to say, that was part of a plan for you to not figure that out right away? Was that didn't have enough time to figure it out? I mean, how do we trust, it's a both and. I know that it's a both and. But I know that that's a struggle for people, is when we're suffering, we just want it to go away, and so we're, even if we're on a journey to figure out that core wound, because I want it to go away, sometimes in that there's some, that even that's kind of a fearful process, sometimes if we're pushing it. And so what would you say about that? What would you say about discovering that?
In advance and not trusting I could heal the necrosis. I feel that I was supposed to have this experience, Michelle, because there were things that I learned that I could have not learned otherwise.
Right.
It gave me a chance to surrender in a way that I would not have surrendered to life. It deepened me.
Right.
And I'm really glad that the week before that surgery that I did get the lesson. In that, I like that, in that clarity. When I was able to go through that process, I stood up, and it was rejection from the time I was an ovum in my mother's ovum. And I kept creating rejection, particularly with my family, because I had to heal that. When I had let that go through the process that I went through, I stood up. I felt myself without holding that deep trauma of rejection for the first time. And I was different. Who am I without feeling rejection on the deepest level of my being in every cell of my body?
Right.
Oh my gosh. And by the end of the day, I said, Bruno, you gotta look at me walk. I go,
Wow.
I can walk and I don't have pain.
Wow.
And I said, I can dance. And I started dancing. My hips were moving, and I was all over the place.
Wow.
I said, oh my gosh. I go, maybe I don't need the surgery. And I said, maybe everything's healed. And I said, I want to get another X-ray again. But I want a few days, just to make sure. And I went back, and we could see that the structure had changed.
Wow.
But the necrosis didn't. So I held that, and what I could see that if the structure hadn't changed, I would still hold that false posturing, and it wouldn't heal in the same way because my body was still out of alignment. Right.
It had gotten so used to that disalignment.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And also the second thing is that I would still my body was supporting me to express the rejection.
Mm.
And it was like a living death, right?
Right.
You know, and so once I had that healed, my body didn't need to express that anymore.
Mm.
I have a theory, and this is why, in part,
Mm-hmm.
the healing went so easily with me.
Right.
It didn't need to express that pain anymore
Mm.
without help. And I
Mm-hmm.
had done a session with my mother that, although I felt, oh boy,
Mm.
that I had come to terms and really love with her, but on the deepest level, on a cellular level, on a heart and soul level, I embraced my mother on a level that completely just touched me to my core.
Mm-hmm.
And what I feel is that as we come more and more into alignment on a really deeper level, when we find, call it the monad, or the template, the original template of who we are, our souls can embody in a deeper way.
Mm. That makes
Now
sense.
it's about embodiment because we don't have the restriction, the
Mm.
no, the fear, and the belief that we are not one.
Mm. Right.
It's
Right.
just not there. I am 100% connected to the lotus, my mother.
Mm.
And I know
Mm.
that he knows how deeply I know that.
Mm.
What a gift.
Yeah. I love that you say a gift because it's I'm sure that it was a process too. I'm sure that it was a little process to get there. I mean,
One time.
yeah, it wasn't just I'm deciding that I'm here, because
Yeah.
that's not our human experience.
Right.
You
No.
know, it's very much more complicated than that. But you are so willing to put in that time and effort to create that, which is really admirable. I really, really admire the fact that you take seriously that quiet time and are willing to experience what you need to get to that point. That's not necessarily easy for all of us to do. I'm sure it's not easy for you, but it's admirable that you do that work. I
Wow. Well, it certainly changed my work and how I put
Right.
on my classes. You know how I am. I write a class, but they have just gone from here to like
Yeah.
different. I just wish I could start rewriting the whole thing from A to Z. Because,
Right.
oh my gosh, Michelle, I can see something is unfolding. I have so
Mm.
much hope for humanity that we can really let the story of the mind that we've held for generations from the beginning of time, release that. And through the knowing of our divinity and the power of our hearts, that we really can step out of this entrapment.
Mm. That's a powerful word. Yes. 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 Well, in your story that you shared with me, can you share about your bone, taking your bone? That made me
Ah,
weep. Thought it was so. I was reading it to my husband. I'm like, this is so special, so special. I can't
um,
imagine. I can't imagine.
yes. So when I met Javier, um, I was, I told him, I said, Javier, would it be okay if you gave me the part of the bone that you take in surgery? And I remember, I don't think anybody ever requested that before.
Right?
His poor mind went, what?
What?
And he was fast on his feet and he thought about it for a moment and I said, it's a part of me. I
Yeah.
said, I want to do a burial. And he he agreed, and he said he would talk to Hector and he would do the very best he could, but I would be able to do that. So there was agreement. And after the surgery, I mean, they weren't used to having packaging for this, and I think it was like in a soup container. It was to go. It's like, oh
I
my
love
God.
it.
Oh, yeah, it's like, okay.
Some bone broth, some literal bone broth we got there.
That was my picture. So Bruno took it home, and I wasn't ready to face it, and he put it in the refrigerator that we had in the garage. So it was, boy, it was the following week that I told him, I said, this is the day that I have to do it. It was the 22nd, and he was coming into dusk and said, okay, I'm ready, Bruno. And so we had picked out a place to do the burial. Oh, I get emotional again.
Yeah, it's special.
And he dug a hole, and he said, is that deep enough? And I felt it was. And he gave me the bone, and I looked at it, and wow. And then I closed my eyes, and I just felt it was part of me. And the shell, I can't explain. The words aren't quite adequate enough that I felt an innocence, a child, like a beauty. And I was just blown away. I was blown away. And I took the bone, and I wish I would have held it longer.
Yeah.
That I placed it in the ground. And when Bruno covered the bone, I felt every cell in my body relax. And I went to a place of peace that I never expected. And I know if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have reached that level of peace in my body.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful that I had this experience, and it's in the backyard by a tree, close to the river. So
back to mother. Back to mother.
And now I know, I used to think that I might want to be cremated, but I know that I want my body back to the earth from which I came, from which we all.
Yeah.
That we could rest. It was like, it was a feeling of it. Mama.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm so touched.
Wow. That is beautiful. Well, it's amazing to me that this story is filled with all the emotions, the hope, the fear, the love, the healing, the disruption and the coming home. Those stories that have all the emotions, I think, can be some of our greatest teachers. And even though we really prefer, the positive emotions, but we really do learn from the whole experience. The whole experience. And when you had to face something that you really didn't want to, when I was actually being wheeled into surgery when I was little to get my tonsils out, I turned to my mom and I said, I don't want to, And it was a few months later, and she said, of course, when they wheeled me out, she cried and cried because she felt so bad. But she said that was the most courageous thing I'd ever seen, is to see someone say, I don't want to, but are willing, to surrender to it and allow it. And somehow that was, I think that's maybe a little bit of the lesson to take from your story, is when and if that does show up, to practice that willingness to allow, to send love and energy to every piece of yourself and the doctor and the instruments and the room, and to be a creator of the experience that you want and hope to have. And I think that just feels so settling in my body. Like, of course, we should be a partnership in our own health, regardless of what needs to happen. That we should be a partner in that. I think that's so special. Just one piece of your story that makes me change the way I think about any kind of care. And I bet you changed those doctors too. I bet you they are different because of you.
I have a feeling that, yes,
Yeah.
I'm sure that none of us ever had an experience like that.
Right.
I can feel like I held the field of permission to be more connected to themselves and to each other. If you could see those three men the next morning, how much they loved each other, they were like celebrating each other as much as they were celebrating my success.
Wow. I love that, Alaya. Well, is there anything more you want to share before we go?
No. I think that was a lot.
That was a lot, but so beautiful, so amazing. So amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yes, and just to be able to articulate this on so many levels was really a gift for me. Yeah, and thank you.
You're good at articulating it, by the way. You are good at that.
Yeah, to organize, it all happened was thank you for holding the space that it could come through.
Do you think with your heart-centered therapy, it will be more working with on the cellular level a little more? Do you think that's how it will change?
Oh, yes, that's definitely included.
Okay. So even more than that. Wow.
Oh my gosh, Michelle. It's like, it's made me see so many things. It's like healing the 4 generations on the mother-father side on a cellular level, including that, and the emotional is so profound. I mean, that just cuts through the lineage piece. Understanding conception and birth and taking it into the cellular level and that level of trust changes the whole conception birthing just in that.
Right.
Working on the initial trauma when our mothers found out she was pregnant with us.
Mm-hmm.
And when she had the same experience when her mother found out that she was pregnant.
Right.
That's huge. It cannot be forgotten.
Right.
And one of the fun things that has come out of this is like I became aware of my water body, fluid body. And I was meditating, like on the last new moon, and I got in touch with my water body, and I could see that it had collapsed on the left side.
Wow.
Because of the groin and my hip.
Right.
And understanding that, how when the waters collapse because of fear or unresolved trauma, the whole body tightens into false posturing, which binds the waters. They can't flow. They become gel-like. And which holds a different vibration. Can you imagine?
Right.
But if we don't have flow, it takes away from our trust, from our femininity, our ability to be intuitive, to trust, and to hold that flow, which really connects to the universal water body.
Right.
Plasma.
Wow.
So it has been opening me up, and just like after all those 3 years of tension and tightness, I am getting fluidity back.
Wow.
Because I'm learning how to feel my fluid body and bring it into the resistance
Mm.
that I'm holding energetically and physically.
Wow.
And then with the cranial fluid, interstitial fluid, lymph fluid, and how each one is affected differently.
Wow.
It's like, what is happening?
Yeah. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I think you articulate it very well. I hope you know.
Thank you.
I hope you know. That is amazing. You're liking where you're at.
Let's see if I can get this.
Wow.
I'm back here. It rained last night. My blankets got wet over there.
Wow. You can come in. Hold on, I'm gonna grab my Casey, you can come in. Hold on, let me grab this. That's really quick.
Is that your baby?
Today this is my grandbaby.
Oh, Michelle. Hi. Hi, what's your name?
Can you say Casey?
Oh.
Say hi. Say Casey.
Hi, Casey. Fun to see you.
Before you go, if this episode resonated with you and you're craving a place to go deeper, I want to invite you into the Wholeness Library. It is our membership community where we do this work together, resources, support, and a space where we don't have to figure things out alone. You can find a link in the show notes, and I'd love to see you there.